How's it going, everybody? So today we're going to do an open boxing of the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 420mm radiator, all in one actually. And this is the ARGB model. It is going to be for my new workstation, which is currently running an air cooler. It is a Ryzen 9 and a 7th gen Ryzen 9, and it does like to run right up against that 95-degree head limit from AMD. And so I'm going to give this a try. I don't normally do AIOs or any kind of liquid cooling. Normally I'm more workstation sort of based, and everything's meant for a longer life and less maintenance. But we're going to give this a try, see if it can kind of rein those temperatures in a little bit. I know I can drop them down manually, but I'd like to see if this can do it without me having to make any manual changes to it, either through the BIOS or Ryzen Master. So found this on sale on Amazon. Figured I would go, normally I'm not an RGB guy, but everything else on that computer, it's the one I've put other videos up about, all the red theming. So I figured everything else was RGB, I'd stick with that. And so we're just going to open the box, and I haven't looked at it yet. I have no idea what all comes with it. It says it'll work for AM5, so I'm going to hope that's correct. And let's just take a look at it and see what all it's got. I also thought the box itself was very unique. Like I said, I haven't done any other AIOs, but I've never seen any boxed in a sort of triangular shaped box. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm not 100% sure how to get this thing out, so we're going to kind of go on an adventure together and, you know, see what we've got happening here. I don't know if I'm supposed to lay this down or stand it up. You know, it's kind of coming out in a chunk here. Scoot the outer shell away. It does say there's a QR code on it for the manual, so we'll have to take a look at that in a minute. Put that to the side for now. Oh, we have tape. Get our handy dandy cutting utensil. Try not to cut ourselves. And let's see what we've got happening here. So this is obviously the block. It's got a cover on it. I'll leave that for now. This has stuff in it, so we'll see what that is in just a minute. And there is, boy, that's a chunky boy. So I know 420 millimeters is 420 millimeters, but if you've never seen one before, that's pretty large. So my goal with this, actually, because I'm using the case that I have, is a Thermaltake Core P3, and I've got it in the horizontal configuration currently. There's not really a great way to mount this, so I'm actually intending to 3D print a bracket to hang it off the back. My inspiration for the build originally was sort of a Darth Vader themed, and so I might morph that from a Darth Vader to a spaceship theme and sort of point this out the back like it's engines pointing away from the computer. But we'll see how that turns out. If you'd like to see a video of that, please let me know. Put it down in the comments. So, okay, the cold plate, or the contact plate, does not have any pre-applied thermal paste. So that's good to know. I think it does say it comes with some, so you don't have to buy any separately, but if you have another preferred kind, I do always hate when they come with pre-applied thermal paste and it's not the one you'd prefer to use, and then you feel like you're wasting the thermal paste because you wipe it off to use your preference. Okay, and in this box there is our thermal paste. We have MX5. Makes sense. We've got all of our mounting hardware. And they were serious when they said scan the QR code for manual. There are 0 written instructions with this at all. So that's not a bad thing. You've got some little washers here. You have your different plates for Intel as well as your NVIDIA configurations. Or excuse me, NVIDIA. Intel as well as your AMD configurations. Got some little washers. Spread everything out here. Thermal paste, some more little washers. And some packets of screws. They do label the packets. The packet with AMD screws is labeled AMD. They did not label the Intel packet. I guess they just figure if it's not AMD, it's Intel, and you can figure that out. So it's pretty straightforward, just based on observation. I don't see, I do notice I only see 3 of these washers. I'm not seeing a 4th one. I don't know if, oh, there it is. It was stuck to a bracket. So there we go. All right, so we got 4 of everything. That's nice. These almost look like motherboard standoffs. I'm not exactly sure what those are. Obviously, we'll have to hit up the manual. So I went ahead and pulled up the manual here for the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 420, and I pulled it up on the Arctic website as opposed to using the mobile app. I suppose if you want to use the mobile app, that's fine, but I think looking at it on the computer is a little bit easier personally. And I was expecting a PDF that we just kind of flip through, but this does not appear to be a PDF. This looks a little bit more interactive. It looks like it's got some animations and some different things in it. So I'm kind of interested to see how this goes. First, we've got our 2 brackets here that correspond with different sockets. And then we've got our packaging contents, obviously the radiator itself. We see the standoffs. Apparently they actually are motherboard standoffs. I thought they might be, but I wasn't sure. Different spacers, screws, etc., but it kind of shows you everything you've got and how many of them you should have. And then we scroll on through that. We have some different options here. We've got for Intel socket 1700, some older Intel sockets, some Intel workstation sockets, and then we've got AM4, AM5. So I'm going to go there because we're doing a Ryzen 7000 series build. We've got 2 options. We've got preparation and installation. So under preparation, here we go. We got a video of Steve from Gamers Nexus. I've actually seen that, talking about how not to mount your radiator. The TLDR is don't have your pump block combo at the top of your loop because you'll get air in it, and that'll make a lot of noise and wear your pump out a little faster. So you want to have your radiator higher than the pump. So that's kind of what they got here. Don't put it down at the bottom. You can put it at the top. If you put it on the front, have the inlets coming out of the bottom. You can have the inlets coming out, or the inlet outlet up at the top, but as they say, risk of bubbling noise because you'll kind of get your air trapped up here. So if you can put the inlet outlet down at the bottom, it's always better. We're not going to do any of this because we're going to actually mount it outside of the case because we're using an open frame case. So here they got a nice little animation showing you, depending on where your fans are, which direction you're blowing hot or cold air in the case, out of the case. Generally, obviously, you would want to blow hot air out of the case. In our situation, though, we may actually blow hot air back towards the case because it'll be sitting behind the computer. And since it's an open frame case with no other fans, there is no other air moving across the board, so I might flip the fans to blow back towards the board just to create a little air movement. And here we've got our section on preparing your cooler. Personally, I would like to see 4 screws instead of 2, like 1 at each corner of the cold plate, but I'm guessing they tested it, or maybe, I know a new version just came out, a Liquid Freezer 3, so maybe that's an adjustment on the newer one, or maybe they tested it and 2 was all that was needed, so that's what they went with. But a lot of times more even mounting pressure across the plate is a better option. Obviously they tell you what hardware you're going to need to execute that, some basic notes on it. We've got how to remove the standard AMD mounting hardware. And we're ready to go, so we can click on installation. Here they're just telling you how to face the brackets. I appreciate that, and make sure that the offsets are in the right place. Here they do specify that there's, and some AIOs and cold plates do this now, where there's a little bit of an offset mount for some of the newer Ryzen stuff because they have CCDs up at the top. And though traditionally you might mount your cooler centered to the processor, that's not necessarily centered to where the heat's being generated. So now they offset it a little bit so that it's central to the CCDs as opposed to central to the processors. Okay, that's good to note. We want our VRM fan at the top instead of at the bottom. We can use spacers, just handy little install animation. I wish I could screw all 4 of them in at the same time. That'd make that process a lot quicker. Tells you which screws and mounting hardware you'll need. Got your thermal paste application, and always remember to remove the plastic covering off of the plate, because otherwise you will have very high temperatures and not know why, and you'll take it into tech support and they'll pull off the plastic and you'll feel kind of dumb. Here we can see they've got the different hole sizes for a couple different Intel sockets, but they got the AMD socket marker out here. They're indicating going in a cross pattern, which is always a good idea. I think I would tighten each one down a little bit, maybe do a half turn on each one and kind of work my way around so that you get even pressure mounting instead of fastening one all the way down and then working across. And then here we're just going through mounting the radiator. It's nice to see, again, sort of like the little grommets they put on the fans to reduce vibration. They've got some nice little washers here to kind of reduce vibration into the case. We're not going to be mounting it to a case, so this part doesn't matter for us quite as much, but it is, obviously it would for most people, so it's good they have the demonstration, and always like seeing the washers and the shock absorbance so you don't get a lot of vibration. Here they just have the plug and what pinouts you might happen to have. Some newer boards have the 4-pin, but it'll also have like a higher amperage or a plug that's intentionally labeled for water pump or water block or something like that. It's a little bit of higher amperage outlet, and if your board has that, that's definitely your preference. And then down here they got a link to a BIOS configuration guide. So we won't be making any BIOS changes to this immediately because we're using this for comparison against an air cooler. So we want to A to B test without any tweaking or doctoring. But we may go in later and make some of those adjustments, and it's good that they have it just in case you want it. That's about it for the manual. It's not what I was expecting. I thought it was just going to be like a PDF, and maybe they had moved it to digital only, so save some printing cost and to allow them to issue updates more often. But this one's a lot more colorful. It's got the animations. It's a little bit more intuitive and engaging in my opinion. I really enjoyed it, and you don't often say that about a manual. So hopefully it helps us out when it comes to installing the AIO. And that is a very sizable radiator. So let's take this apart and see if all the ARGB is handled. You've got 2 plugs coming off the pump here. You got your 4-pin header and an ARGB header. I'm not sure if all these fans require separate wiring or if they're all daisy chained to the pump, I mean. I do like also that the pump has a built-in fan for the VRMs. That'll be nice. That is something that you do see occasionally with liquid cooling, is if there's not enough air actually moving over the board, you can have heat problems elsewhere. So they are all cable managed and daisy chained for you. So it looks like everything, and then the cables run right down the sleeving, which is nice. So that means these 2 plugs are all you need to run the pump, to run the fan that is on the pump, to run the 340mm fans, as well as do the ARGB. So just these 2 cables. Everything else looks like it's buttoned up and good to go. So that is about it. They're nicely zip tied and everything. I don't think they'll be in the way too much, particularly since I'm not trying to jam it in a case. They got nice little rubber grommets on the mounting points, kind of keep that vibration noise down. It's always nice. So pretty straightforward. Nothing too fancy, nothing too complicated. I do like the size of it though. Hopefully it will make an impact. It's a 7950X, and when you're doing things like a Blender or maybe some video editing, or if you're using Handbrake for encoding or doing any kind of AI upscaling or denoising, it does tend to get pretty hot pretty quick. So hopefully this guy will tone it down a little bit. So if you'd like a video of this and how we end up mounting this to the computer, or what kind of configuration we come to bracket this off the back, please let me know down in the comments. Appreciate your time today, and hope this gave you a little bit of information about what comes with it in the box and what to expect when you open it. Thanks.